women need to have the same opportunities to shape digital technologies.
I am turning to all women active and interested in digitalization.
And position young women and girls as not only consumers but also producers within the digital sector.
The industry is ready to embrace us all, and when we get into the industry, we will shape our own future.
Hello and welcome to Women Leading Digital, a podcast by GIZ where we discuss digital transformation and technology with leading voices from around the world. My name is Pooja Raghavan and I work with the GovStack initiative at GIZ. In this episode, we will speak with two guests who have experience in mentorship programs, either as a mentor or mentee. We want to learn more about how mentorship and community can help women both build skills and find opportunities to grow their career in the GovTech ecosystem.
We learn from women who've been there before. We learn from the experiences and the challenges they overcome. They are there to provide guidance, and also sometimes they facilitate access to resources.
So I always look for somebody that knows more than me. And of course, it's not just related to the job experience, but the way that the people take care of the community that are around of them.
In light of the importance of mentorship programs, GovStack launched the first cohort of the Women in GovTech Challenge in 2023. My first guest is Josephine Lusi, who is joining us from Tallinn, Estonia. Josephine has a background in management and an MSc in e-governance technologies and services, and she is a facilitator in the challenge. Hello, Josephine, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's nice to meet you, Pooja, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
I'm also joined by Regiane Relva Romano. Regiane has over 40 years of experience working in technology and innovation. She was previously a special advisor to the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation in Brazil. Regiane is a mentor in the challenge. Hello, Regiane. Thanks for joining all the way from Brazil.
It's a big pleasure for me to be here and to be part of this training.
Now, the reason I wanted to speak with you today is to learn more about your broader experience with mentorship, not only through the Women in GovTech Challenge. Regiane, you are currently a mentor in the challenge. Do you have any previous experience with mentorship?
As a professor, we are always mentoring somebody. And here at our university, we have many innovations projects, and I'm always working with the students and also with the community to try to find how they can do the digital transformation. And I also worked at the Ministry of Science and Technology here in Brazil. I was a special advisor at the IoT area and innovation area. So we worked a lot with many communities, students, and companies to try to bring them some experience related to ICT and innovation.
Josephine, what about you? Do you have any previous mentorship experience, whether as a mentor or a mentee?
I would say this would be my first formal mentee experience. And regarding the challenge, I've been involved in some of the GovStack projects since last year, and I understood how it heavily relates to what I studied, because what I studied for my master's, it relates heavily to digital transformation, the key aspects of how to create a digital society. And I saw it as an opportunity to share with my fellow mentees within the challenge as to how they can also gain the experience and also the skills and learn from also other industry non-professionals, like from our mentors like Regiane has explained. And I'm actually interested in learning from Regiane because what she's just explained is something similar that we have in our current universities. So that was one of the reasons I joined the mentorship experience.
That's really nice to hear. And I'm so glad that the two of you have been connected now. Because at some point, Regiane, I'm sure you were also a mentee to someone. What is the most valuable piece of advice you got from a mentor?
My first boss is my friend for 44 years now. And he always says to me, you need to be very curious. You need to Bring people that knows more than you to learn every day, every time with them. So everybody must have people that knows more than you, and you need to be inspired. So I always look for somebody that knows more than me. Of course, it's not just related to the job experience, but the way that the people take care of the community that are around of them.
Josephine, has your experience as a mentee been similar?
In terms of mentorship, I wouldn't say I have one piece of advice from any mentors. I've received several pieces of advice. I think the one that I would pick first would be that never stop learning. A curious mind always asks questions, and never stop learning and never stop reading. Another key advice that I've always received is everyone has unique strengths, and what you need to do is to embrace your strengths and maximize these strengths to turn whatever you're doing into a piece of art.
I think it's remarkable that you both mentioned how staying curious was a valuable piece of advice you received from a mentor. That's really so nice to hear. Regiane, I'd like to ask, when you first became a mentor, what were the main things you wanted to provide to your mentees? And do you think that has shifted throughout your different experiences as a mentor?
I always say to my students to try to be ethical. Now, with all the technology that we can save the world. On the other hand, we can destroy the world in just one click. So the ethical for me is the baseline for everything that you do in your life. When I was a child, I was very, very poor. I had no money for anything, sometimes no food. And I just changed my life because of the education. So I need all the time to try to improve the education for the others because I needed to give back what I received from the life.
Regiane, that was so inspiring to hear how the power of education really shaped your future. I didn't know that you went through these struggles and you're still where you are today despite all of those barriers. Josephine, now you have worked with mentors throughout your career. How do you think this experience in the past has impacted how you work today?
Of course, yes. Mentorship has played a very important part, especially in my career development. So the one big benefit about mentorship for me has been building a network of connections, also building confidence in myself, and this has given me opportunities to opening new doors and also expanding my professional network. I've also been able to develop my skills more because now I believe in myself more than I used to before. And Regiane, I have one question for you because this is something that I'm also thinking of doing myself. Is there a way you track the growth of your mentees, for example, keeping in touch with them if they need more support from your side and how you also provide more support wherever needed?
Everyone has my WhatsApp number. And I work 24 hours by day. I'm a professor in 6 universities nowadays. And I mix all the students, I mix all the teams, because nowadays we have many people working together. Like now, we are 3, and we 3 are in different countries, ages, and knowledge. So we can work together, the relationship, the knowledge, the exchange, this will change all the world. And we need to focus on people needs, how we can save lives with technology, not to destroy everything with the technology.
It kind of resonates with the experience I'm currently having with the Women in GovTech Challenge because I applied as a mentee and I would say, yes, I'm still a mentee within this challenge, but I'm also a facilitator for 10 teams. And within these teams, we have participants from different organizations, different continents. So it's kind of interesting how we have participants from various continents, but then somehow at the end of the day, some of the problems being faced in these countries are not so similar, but they're also quite similar.
Thanks, Josephine. I definitely think that's true because I'm also facilitating some groups in the challenge and I know exactly what you're saying. Do you feel like your past mentorship experiences have impacted the way you work, specifically with the participants in the Women in GovTech Challenge?
My past mentorship experiences have played a huge role in how I'm also facilitating the teams. So first of all, I always empathize with all the situations. I put myself in their shoes and try to understand like how best can I make this challenge memorable and a meaningful learning experience for them. So I believe first of all, communication is very important. And all my team leads, the mentors in my team, they know they are always able to reach me anytime with any questions. So in this way, I always try to understand whatever they are going through, answer any questions without any delays, because I also understand if they feel left out or we are not providing enough support, it would be very demoralizing for them even to continue with this experience.
I agree with you, Josephine. And Regiane, do you have any such instances that have impacted the way you deal with mentees you've been working with?
Totally. And when you see the opinion of the others, you learn a lot and you can change your mind. As I'm always the older, it's good because I can see by one side, but they can see by the other side. And the opinion working together is always better than your own opinion.
It's really good to hear this nice feedback, especially as someone who's been like working as a facilitator in the challenge. Moving on to my next question, why do you think these mentorship relationships are important, especially for women who work in like the GovTech ecosystem or the digital transformation space?
At my university, when I was 16 years old, there was just 3 women. I was just 19 years old when I finished the university, and I was invited to become a professor the next year. So I started to teach at the university when I was just 20 years old as a woman and in the area that was just for men. So I know that I always working open the place for the others that are come behind me. We still seeing more boys than girls in the universities studying STEAM area, and I'm doing my best to say to all the girls, let's study math, let's study technologies.
Regiani, that's so nice to hear. I see that you're not just professionally inspiring women, but also in your personal life, you're trying to change the way women are looked at and they're socialized in, and that's a very big thing. Josephine, could you also tell me what you think regarding these relationships and why?
I would say yes, there are so many challenges facing women in the GovTech domain. Some of the challenges Regiane has just highlighted, especially in the academia sector. Surprisingly, I come from the global south, and there we have less women in the IT space, even as students, for example. But coming to Estonia, for example, the ratio is more or less equal, girls to boys who are studying IT-related courses. But still, there's not enough women, especially in leadership positions, and this kind of influences the overall decision making in the country. So I agree this is something that needs to be challenged. So we learn from women who've been there before, we learn from the experiences and the challenges they overcome. So in this sense, the mentors, they are there to provide guidance, and also sometimes they facilitate access to resources that otherwise, as a newbie, I wouldn't have known or had access to.
I have a more future facing question now. How can the new generation of policy and tech practitioners ensure that we have inclusive technology policy so that it's the norm and not an add on?
These would be different depending on each country. Each country is very unique in terms of the problems or the solutions that they want to adopt. So looking at a country where some communities have been marginalized for years, first of all, it would make sense to actually level the playing field for people in the country. Mentorship, in this sense, they can provide mentees with access to new emerging trends, for example. This we can get from the academia section, and also not academia, also professional section. Still, we also need to push for inclusive policies. So if we have inclusive principles from the outset, then when we design services, or when we design educational systems, we take into account all these differences, and then this leads us into developing a more cohesive society. So yes, we need to also have inclusive principles and also policies, also while improving the education system.
Yes, and you are correct. I'm in a big group here in Brazil called Brazil Digital for All. We created a logo, and in this logo, we put everybody representing the society. And I said, it's wrong. It's not inclusive. We needed to change everything because inclusive must be at the word inclusive. No one can be out. So my cousin son is autist, and I learned what is the inclusive education with him. I really learned in practical because when you just say, it's one thing. When you have to take care of that person, it's completely different. I'm agree with you, Josephine. We need to do many things looking for the others.
Thank you for sharing that, Regiane, and also Josephine for bringing this up. What skills or strategies do you think practitioners should incorporate while promoting inclusive digital policies in the future?
We needed to look into the child, we needed to look into the disability people, we needed to look to the family, what they need to support their children. And of course, we needed to look to the health and quality of life of everybody in a society.
What about you, Josephine? Do you have any skills in mind that you think all practitioners should share?
Yes, there are several skills that come into mind. What we've both said with Regiane, having an inclusive approach when designing services. So, for example, when designing services, there always the research stage where this would involve having interviews or conversations with everyone from whichever part of the country they come from. And this translates into having an inclusive design thinking approach when you actually now develop the service in general. I would also say cultural sensitivity, because now with technology we are exposed to different cultures and we need to be very tolerant and understanding of the differences in terms of culture. For example, try to be more sensitive and not say mean words to other people. And lastly, I would also say having a collaborative problem solving approach. This is also something that I'm keen to see how it's going to work out within our groups in the challenge, because with the diverse experiences and the backgrounds and all of them coming together to kind of bring new solutions to these problems they are facing in their countries.
Thanks, Josephine and Regiane. I agree that those facets are really important, especially empathy and cultural sensitivity. My last question is, what advice do you have for women who want to get involved in a mentorship program, either as a mentor or a mentee?
So I would say 3 steps. First of all, I would say you have to be very curious. When you see an opportunity, grab it. So you have to take the first step, send your application, and just make sure you meet the brief. Because I was involved in going through the applications, for example. Some applications stood out, and now every time I see the participant's name, I actually match them with the proposal they submitted because it was very memorable. So take the first step, apply, and once you get into the challenge, be open to learning. As it's been said before, the most stupid question is the question that was not asked. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Reach out to your mentors. They've dedicated time to mentor you and guide you throughout the challenge. So be open to the learning process and also be committed. When you commit to a challenge, I think the biggest reward is when you succeed at the end. And this can only come in when you commit your time and resources and also be respectful of your team members' time. And in this way, you'll have a very meaningful and impactful learning experience.
Thank you, Josephine. And Regiane, what advice do you have for women who want to get involved with the GovTech Challenge or any other mentorship program?
Yes, be curious, be open, and be ethical. Ethical for me, it's very important because I see here in Brazil many things that are wrong. Be open to new opportunities, just like Josephina said. You can do whatever you want to do, but you needed to know what you wanted to do. You needed to know where you wanted to be. You needed to know what will be your future. So you needed to organize your life to bring all of this for you. So study a lot, work hard, be ethical, be empathic, and don't be afraid.
Thank you, Josephine and Regiane. It was so wonderful to have the two of you join us from different parts of the world today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Bye. It was nice getting to know each one of you. Bye.
Women Leading Digital is brought to you by GIZ, the Deutsche Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit, and is produced by Bear Radio. I'm Pooja Raghavan. Follow GIZ for more information, news and stories on digital transformation and gender at www.pmz-digital.global.